All right, are we live?
We're live now.
Oh, we're live. Hello.
All right. So we'll go you, and that's it for the order.
Okay, it's yeah. So me, it would be me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully I don't forget.
Yeah. Just go. Just you go. You go after yourself.
Okay, Jess and Jess.
Damn it! No.
No, I messed it up.
You should
Shit.
just say like a wrong name. Be like Steven. Oh
Um,
damn it, Jess.
it's not. It's not Steven.
All right.
All right.
Here we go. Let me make sure my thing's set. It is.
Well, I'll tell you if it fucks up on my end, like it does half the time.
In 3, 2, 1. And welcome to episode 427 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I'm here with.
Jess.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about movies that we saw this week in part 1. And in part 2, we're going to be continuing our Horror for Kids series by adding in something that we had to do because we miscalculated the month.
Oops.
Yeah. And but we're going to talk about 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I think people like that movie. People love that movie.
People like that movie.
Yeah. I've seen it. I watch it every Halloween, so I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it before this. I know it. I know all about it. So
okay, but you every year it's a ritual.
Yeah, I'll watch it. What is it, next week? 2 weeks? No, it's next week. Next Monday, I'll watch it.
Wow, you're gonna watch it on Halloween.
Yeah, we can talk about it. It's part 2. I can sing most of the songs.
Wow.
I'm about it.
Well, yeah. Let's save this good stuff for part 2.
All right. All right. Let's kick off part 2. I'm going to talk a little bit about a movie that I've already seen before, and I think I've talked about it on the podcast. But big time fave. That's bringing Up Baby. It fits into the category of nonsense movies. Love a good nonsense. We should have more movies that have
when you're talking nonsense movies, are you talking something like avant-garde or like Clifford level? Like, what are we talking?
It's pretty Clifford. Like, this movie has no plot. Like I could read this log line, but it really doesn't like explain what the movie's about. Literally, the movie is just Katharine Hepburn annoying Cary Grant for how long is it? 102 minutes.
And they're bringing up a baby.
No, Baby is the leopard. See, you don't like that makes no sense. Baby is the leopard. That's the leopard's name, and yeah, the leopard is involved.
So is it? It's just meandering. It sounds like it just kind of.
It's kind of like a lot. I mean, I think we talked about this last. It's a live action Looney Tunes movie. Like it's
great.
Yeah, it's pretty much like to the point that I think Looney Tunes was Bugs Bunny specifically was. I want to say I don't want to say that. I might be wrong. I want to say that Bugs Bunny is inspired a bit by Katharine Hepburn's performance in this. But really? I might be wrong. That might be. I might be making it up. Don't hold me to that. But this is a Howard Hawks movie for those who we've talked about. His Girl Friday, it's same director from that. But this one, again, it's tough to describe it. Pretty much. So Cary Grant plays David Huxley, who is a zoologist, and so he needs the specific bone for the dinosaur that he's like building or whatever at his museum, but then over a variety of different circumstances ends up falling in with Susan, her character's named Susan Vance, but the Katharine Hepburn character, who literally pretty much she loves him immediately and is like, I love him so much, I'm just gonna find ways to annoy him and like keep me involved in his life until he also falls in love with me, which honestly is very romantic. Yeah. Who wouldn't want just this woman, want a beautiful woman just throwing themselves at you in order to keep you around. And
very endearing.
Yeah, and Cary Grant the entire time is like very strong himbo status. He has like the little glasses on. with his little suit and everything, like super cute. Yeah, it's a strong himbo status movie for
Wow.
Cary Grant. But yeah, pretty much the rest of the movie is just like hijinks after hijinks. Like the majority of the time is like Katharine Hepburn. Like she'll like find her car, but then she'll like steal somebody else's car and like trade cars. She'll just do stuff to she'll just do stuff to mess around with Cary Grant. He gets annoyed by it. Um but there's there's this whole situation where you have the leopard that her brother has sent her from Brazil. That but like
Yeah,
the
sure. Just
but
what
her
in the mail? He just
Yeah, I guess
mailed
so.
her a leopard. Okay.
And but the leopard's super. It's like pretty much just like a large cat. It's like it just acts like a domestic house cat. It very much like it really enjoys the song. Oh shoot, what's the song title? It like has this song that it loves, so she'll like play the song or sing the song to it. Um, but then she has to like involve her aunt. It's literally just like hijink after hijink of different things happening. I really like it because one, it's a very light movie. Um, it's funny because it's a very stressful movie because at the same time you kind of like you're processing through the Cary Grant character who's just stressed out the entire time because all the Cary Grant character needed to do was um, talk to this guy to get this funding for the museum, and then he was supposed to marry his fiance the next day. And Katharine Hepburn just ruined all of that. Like she's constantly just keeping him away from all of that. And so the entire time you're just stressed out because you're just like, what the hell is going on? Why do we keep going into different like what like Cary Grant even remarks half the movie. It's like what I'm just trying to think of how I got to this point. Like how did I get to this point
Right.
where we're trying to find your pet leopard while
This is the
you
day I was
know
supposed to be getting married or something.
yeah, exactly. And so that part of it is really like it's super light in but it's also just really funny.
Yeah.
It was nice this time. Like I didn't. It's not necessarily like constantly laugh out loud funny. There's a lot of good lines that will make you laugh, but I didn't find myself just like laughing constantly. It's more you just kind of get sucked into the madness and the
Mhm.
chaos. Um, and like I say it's a live action Looney Tunes because kind of the energy that you're dealing with is, like think of like a Looney Tunes cartoon where like Bugs will be interacting with another character and like give something to another character and that character gets like hit by like a bull or falls off a cliff or like that's pretty much the entire movie is Katharine Hepburn kind of doing something, handing it off to Cary Grant, and then he's like kind of getting taking the brunt of it. For example, there's a sequence where he runs into her at this restaurant, and she while walking over to him stops and like interacts with the psychiatrist and talks to him for a while, and then accidentally picks up his wife's, which you say accidentally, she probably did it on purpose, but picks up his wife's purse, and then walks over to Cary Grant, talks to him and goes, hey, hold this purse, I'll be right back, and then leaves. So then when Cary Grant's walking back to go and meet her, the psychiatrist sees it, and then that becomes this whole thing where they think he's trying to steal the
Oh my
purse. And then
god.
Katharine Hepburn comes over and is like, that's not my purse. I don't know what he's talking, that kind of. So it's a lot of those types of things set up.
Sheesh,
But
she's like,
it's a lot of chaos.
pesky. She's pesky.
There's a one like the ending is great because it's like this whole sequence where like she and Cary Grant are in jail, and she like puts on this whole persona and is like messing with the police chief, and pretending to be like a gangster because he's looking for like these gangsters for whatever reason. It's so like none of the movie makes sense, and it's all so stupid, and I loved every second of it.
Sounds
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, it's a really sweet movie, and it's very funny. It's very much a it's kind of like His Girl Friday though. It's a very language dialogue heavy movie.
Mhm.
I think you kind of get the pleasure, like I said, like I'm not sitting there laughing the entire time, but I'm very much like enjoying myself because
Yeah.
there's just this constant repartee between the two characters. Um, there's like a lot of just really good one-off lines that are very funny. Like at one part, Katharine Hepburn, like when they first meet, Katharine Hepburn is like just walks out and is about to hit Cary Grant's golf ball, and he's like, no, that's my golf ball, and she's like, no, this is my golf ball, you silly goose. And he's like, no, this, like the brand of golf ball that I use it has like this round logo to it. And so she just ignores him and hits the golf ball, and then she hits the golf ball into the cup. And so whenever she finishes the putt, he like pulls it out and he goes, see this is my golf ball. It's circle. It's not square. And she goes, well, silly. If it was square, you couldn't hit the golf ball. And it's like that kind of stupid stuff that you're like, this is great. But no, I just I don't know. If people have not seen this is a very good. If you haven't seen many black and white movies and are trepidatious of watching black and white movies, this is a good one to see. It's very funny. It's very silly. Literally, there's nothing serious in this entire movie. Cary Grant super cute. Katharine Hepburn super cute. At one point, Cary Grant's in lingerie with like this furry kind of outside to it, and he leaps up in the air and says, I'm sorry, I just went all gay for a second. So what more could you ask for in a movie?
What did you watch it on?
It's on Criterion Channel. In the Criterion Flash sale recently, I got the disc. So, but you can watch it. It's on Criterion. It pops up on like TCM and HBO Max and those places that have TCM movies. A lot. It's usually pretty widely accessible. It's like I said, it's one of Howard Hawks' more well-known movies. I mean, I'm looking at it. He would be a good person to do a series of directors' movies on. But yeah, it's one of his more well-known ones, next to His Girl Friday and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, if you're looking for a nice, fun, light, classic Hollywood movie, Bringing Up Baby. It's nice. We got to get more nonsense movies. That's my plea, is more nonsense movies.
I'm sold. You don't have to say anything else. I'm sold. I want to watch it. It sounds good. I don't think I've seen a Katharine Hepburn movie.
Oh, yeah. You haven't seen like the Philadelphia Story or anything?
Mm-mm. I've seen Audrey Hepburn movies, but I don't think I've seen anything with Katharine Hepburn.
She,
It's a blind
I'm trying to
spot.
think. I like her in this more than Philadelphia Story.
Mm.
She talks like this, see, and walks around and it's like, I'm Katharine Hepburn. Look at you, doll. I'm gonna just like give you a sock and muffin, stuff like that.
In this one or in the Philadelphia Story?
That's what she's like most of the time, it seems like. If you've ever seen The Aviator, the Martin Scorsese movie, Cate Blanchett plays her, and it's kind of like that. Like she just has like this very like kind of boyish, yeah, come on, let's just go. We'll go have a roll in the hay, have a little fun, haha, stuff like that. That's who that's Katharine Hepburn. But Bringing Up Baby, it's on the streamings.
Check it out.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna toss it over to you though, because you have a whole different vibe, I feel like.
Very different vibe. Well, because it's October, I've got to watch spooky movies only during October. So Andrew and I, the other night, we watched V. It's V-I-Y. I think it's Viy, is the way they pronounce it in the movie, Viy. But it was a 1967 Soviet horror movie. It came out in Soviet era. USSR, Russia. I don't know. Is it the same thing? I don't know. I'm sorry.
USSR. Yeah.
It's directed by some Russian directors, Konstantin Yershov and Georgy Kravchuk.
That sounds like some Russian names.
If you're familiar with their work. I don't even know if I've seen a Russian movie before. Definitely not one like this, but it's based off of a book of the same name, and I guess in the story, a priest has been ordered to basically hold a 3-day wake for a witch in this like small village. I don't know if it's like supposed to be obvious that she's a witch or not. I don't know if it's kind of like a rumored, but not like widely. I don't know. In the movie, they kind of make it seem like everybody sort of knows that she's a witch, but he's just sort of like not talking about it either. Like he's not really like open about what's going on. Anyway, so he's supposed to host like a 3-day wake for this witch who's died, which means like every night he has to spend the entire night in just like this small, I guess it's like a church,
Has she
and
died
just
of
be
like
in there all night.
Has she died of
Well,
natural causes, or has she died because they killed her?
so it actually, so that's like the most exciting premise of the movie. But the beginning of the movie, it just kind of establishes that there is this like monastery or something, and there's these three like super like chud priests. Like they just love to like drink and act like total assholes and like be just yucky boys. So they like the movie kind of starts with these three guys, and they run into this like old hag, and two of them, I don't know what happens to them. I don't know if they die. I don't know if I missed it or what, but two of the guys like kind of fuck off somewhere, and then the one remaining guy is the priest that like you spend the movie with, and he finds this hag, and then it almost looks like she's gonna seduce him or something, and he's sort of like yuck. But then she like picks him up on her broomstick and takes him away. And in my head, I'm like, man, if that happens to me, I'm in. Like, I am joining her team. I will be her little witch servant. Like, I'm in. Like, this is cool as shit. So he's like flying with her. But then I don't know what, she keeps like kind of trying to seduce him, or I don't know. Anyway, he decides like she's definitely a witch. Like, and I love Jesus, so I've got to take care of this situation. So he beats her up, and then she dies. But when she dies, her form changes, and then she just looks like a beautiful woman who's dead. And then he's like, okay, now she's definitely like a witch, because you don't just go from old to like beautiful like when somebody whacks you. Like, this is messed up. So he takes off. But then she does end up dying. And then in her dying request, she requests that this specific priest hold a wake for her. And everybody in her town is like, no, he has to do it. So they all force him to do it. So all of this to say, like, the premise is interesting. And then I think like the horror element of it really comes from the 3 nights that he spends in the like church doing the wake for her. And it almost kind of reminded me of like a D&D campaign or something, because it's like every night he shows up and he's got like a little boss battle with her. And the first night it's like kind of easy level, and second night it's like getting pretty hard, and then third night is like I don't know, heavy metal, like like it's like super super intense hard. And I think
Say that
like
again.
you just get your little like hair metal out and just start like riffing on a guitar. Like that's
How did
the
it
vibe.
sound
Like
though?
it goes hard. Huh?
How did it sound though?
Yeah, I can't do the sound again right now. You see, you did it. You got it. You get it. So that was like, that's the coolest part of the movie for me. I think that a lot of the frame story of like him, I don't know, like establishing who he is, which is a super annoying character, and then his like journey to get to the town to do it. Parts of that were just like a little slow for me. It's kind of almost in like a fantasy setting, so I don't know. It's almost like they're little like peasants or something in like an older time Renaissance. I don't really know what like era it's going for.
Mhm.
Not like modern Soviet like 60s or anything
When did
like
they
that.
come out?
67, but it's
Okay.
not set there. It's set more in like a medieval era or something.
Okay.
I don't know. But the frame story itself to me was a little slow or like a little tedious in parts. The characters were a little annoying. But I will say what's so cool about it is the special effects. There's a lot of scenes where it's really clear that they're on like a stage with like a painted background. And it's kind of just cool to see how they use that space and try to make it look real. But there are some really cool moments where they're using it, and it's clear, like as you're watching it, it's clear that they're on like a moving platform, but it looks like they're running through the woods. But you can, if you watch closely, like you can see that they're on like a moving platform, and also like the screen behind them is like moving too. And then there's a part where he's like being carried by the witch, and just to watch them, I don't know. What's cool is just like trying to think, how did they do this? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the way they do that and then edit it, there's a lot of really, really beautiful. special effects or just like the way that they have to edit it to show the strange experiences that he goes through. And then I really liked the final night like he has with her, because they pull out like all of these like like horror creatures and just kind of seeing them bring that to life. And I don't know, it just looks really really cool. That was the strongest part of the movie is like the special effects for me. And there's a lot of really beautiful singing in Russian, whether it's like priests who are singing like a hymn or it's like little peasant villager people like singing some folk song. Things like that. And then moments like the really kind of beautiful and kind of creepy, macabre but beautiful special effects that they do made it just like honestly, it wasn't like a super horrific scary like I'm so terrified movie, but it was just very like pleasant and creepy. And I really enjoyed it. I feel like those two words sound so opposite, like both pleasant and creepy, but there was just something really like, I don't know, soothing about it. Just like thinking about how they make it and put this together. And I
I
thought it
feel
was really really good. I
I feel
liked
like
it a
that's
lot.
gonna be something we'll probably talk about later in this episode or next episode.
Yeah,
Like for me, with a lot of like Henry Selick's stop motion animated movies, like they're
yeah,
very creepy, but they're also, they're kind of pleasant to watch. I enjoy them.
yeah. It's like just like knowing that they care, that they put into making like bringing this to life. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
there's something about like the handcraftedness that is
right.
endearing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Endearing.
it's because it's not like today it's less endearing when you just kind of slap stuff on in front of a green screen or something like that. Like you're just kind of like, yeah, I mean,
Right.
they just boo on the computer and like that's a thing.
Right.
Like this one, like they had to like hand paint those sets and like design
Hmm.
all that, and that's like days and days and days of effort for like, a couple scenes, and you're like, yeah, like
Right.
they're like it's a whole process of like working to make sure that everything looks unique and like
And
feels
looks
feels
real,
real.
feels real. Yeah, like that's why I think we replayed one scene because we're like, okay, they're definitely not outside, but how did they do this? And then we just kind of had to watch and see like how they brought these things to life and made it look so cool. Like I loved it.
Yeah.
Um and honestly, it's just like kind of just trippy too, especially like some of the scene, especially at the beginning I'm thinking of where he first encounters the witch. It's just very mesmerizing, I would say, to watch. And even in like the final horror moments of the movie where it is like, we're pulling in, like we're bringing in all the big guns now, like this is the big scary final moment. There's something just so mesmerizing about it, kind of like I guess like in Nightmare Before Christmas or something like that, where all of these little like macabre creatures are just like coming out of their little corners and showing themselves. There's also a scene that reminds me a lot of like Repulsion because there's all these like arms coming out of a wall. It's awesome. I mean, I like I said, parts of it were a little slow to me, but like the full picture of it, I think everybody should check it out. It's really really cool.
Hmm.
I
What?
liked
How
it a
did
lot.
y'all watch it?
We rented it from our library, so I'm not sure if it's on streaming, but I feel like it is. I feel like I've seen it, kind of circulating,
You
but
said it's VI. Let's see, VIY
VIY.
1967.
Yeah,
It's on Tubi, and it looks like it's on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime.
yeah, I
Oh,
definitely
it's only
recommend
like
it
an
too.
hour 22.
Yeah, and it's not super scary. Like, so don't go in thinking, "Oh my god, this is gonna like scare my pants
It's
off." Like,
also
no,
it's also on YouTube.
do it, do it. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Huh. No, I'm just looking at like pictures from it. I
yeah,
see what you're saying though.
yeah. It's kind of
Good
beautiful.
good
Oh, but
lighting.
I will say, like, some of the guys' haircuts are the goofiest fucking haircuts I've ever seen. Like all the monks have like these very very bowl cut haircuts, which just feels so out of. I mean, maybe that is like accurate, like historically accurate, but he looks like a guy. This monk, he's such an asshole. Like he just loves to like just like get super lit and like I don't know how to explain it other than to say he's just a chud, but he looks like a guy that would
Like
be named Travis. Like he just looks like a guy who I would know, whose name is Travis, and he's just kind of a piece of shit. Like he doesn't look like a guy in Soviet 1960. He doesn't look like a guy in like the medieval times. He looks like just some dude with a bowl cut who like loves Bud Light. I don't know how to explain it.
no, it looks like a priest with his little bowl cut. I mean,
But you would think it would have like the patch on the head or something, but like all of them have these. They really have some goofy haircuts.
yeah. It looks
But
like for listeners, if you looks like a good movie for if you're a fan of like Guillermo del Toro. Like I'm
yeah,
looking at some of these creatures, very like Pan's Labyrinth kind
yeah,
of vibe.
I would say also sort of like um house adjacent in times, but maybe not quite as house has like a lot of like loud imagery. This isn't quite as loud as that, but um it's another comparison.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know. I haven't watched I haven't watched any spooky movies outside of the ones we're supposed to watch for this series. I decided I don't think I'm like I don't dislike horror, but it's not a
Mhm.
genre of movie I actively seek out.
It's there's so many good ones, I think, but
I agree.
now
That's why I
I've
say
gotten
I
to a
don't,
point. I've gotten to a point where I'm like, there's so many good ones now. Like, what do y'all got for me? And a lot of times I'm disappointed because it's like I feel like I've already watched so many good ones.
yeah. I'm just like I just don't seek it out actively because I'm just kind of like I like a bunch of horror movies, but I'm not like that's a genre. Like it's not one of those things where if there's just some random ass horror movie in the theaters today that I'm going to be like, "Oh, I should go see that just because I'm into the genre."
Yeah. Well, like
Um,
Barbarian, that was the case. There's some random ass horror movie. Will it be good? No.
yeah, I also
Probably
just
not.
have I also just don't have much patience with a lot of modern horror movies, whether it's
Yeah.
like that kind of like spooky scare like try to scare you type one or like A24 where it's trying to like give you a film lecture.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
So,
not the time of
so
year for
the
you.
the moral of the story is I don't watch spooky movies during October.
I don't think I
It's
exclusively have. I watched 2001 though, which I don't know if you would. I don't know if I would call that spooky.
it has spooky elements to it.
It has. It's like it's in there. It's in there. I have mostly watched spooky movies. Well, I really only. Oh, I didn't even log when I watched Nightmare Before Christmas today. Wow, I'm the worst. I did Rocky Horror Picture Show a few weeks ago too, but when I got to go to a live show, I've never done it where they have like the cast on the stage and
Oh yeah,
all that. I got to wear a V on my head. It was cool.
yeah, those are fun.
I've never been before. I've seen the movie, but I'd never been to a live show. It was very um, hype.
Nice. All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna be talking about the Nightmare Before Christmas after this.
All right. Mute this. And then we're gonna. Okay. Now all I gotta do is hit the record button. I think I'm finally figuring it out. Okay. Now it looks like I've only watched horror movies because I have Nightmare Before Christmas via Rocky Horror Picture Show and the Addams Family. All the spooky stuff.
Yeah, I've watched. I think I'm looking at it. It's literally just the stuff that we've had to watch for this for this series.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Usually when I chill out, I just watch TV. I don't usually watch a whole movie. Even though I probably watch like a movie's worth of TV, it just feels like lots of commitment.
Yeah, I did watch through all of Over the Garden Wall again the other day.
Did
I
you love
usually
it?
do that in the fall season.
Oops, sorry. I liked it. I thought it was cute when I saw it. It's been a while.
I
Paige is
watched.
dressing up as one of the boys from it
Oh, yeah.
for Halloween.
I watched Finding Francis, the Nathan For You movie. That's in some ways that's frightening.
Did you tell me that you had just rewatched all of Nathan for You too?
Yeah, my favorite thing about my rewatch of Nathan For You is how he exploits how stupid local TV news is. And so, like, whenever he has some silly scheme, he just like reaches out to the local TV station, and they're like so fucking stupid because local TV is stupid. That they'll just like do a story on it. Like I forgot one of the ones where he was like, I got to get the word out there, and the next thing you know, he's like on the local TV station in like LA. I was like, at what point local TV in LA do you realize that this guy is just doing bits?
He's just a guy. He's just a goof.
Oh, it was the one when he like fakes the dog save or the pig saving the
Yes.
which what's he what's no it's a
A,
dog saving the pig or whatever, or the pig saving the whatever it was when he's saving the his that animal
a
rescue.
cat? A dog? I don't know.
Yeah, and then it like gets on not only like local TV but like the Today Show and shit. Like that was hilarious to me. It's just how TV is so like they're just so fucking stupid.
Yes. Well, they don't have anything to talk about, and they just gotta fill time.
Yeah, so
Um,
he just like uses that to his advantage.
did Andrew send you that? Did you guys watch? Did you watch that YouTube video? That's
No,
like
he sent it to me
okay.
and I saved it, but I was gonna watch it at some point.
It is. It's fantastic. You gotta check it out.
It's kind of cool rewatching it after watching the rehearsal because there's so many episodes that seem like little
Yeah.
proto episodes of the rehearsal.
Yeah. I sort of want to rewatch all of it now, like rewatch it, and then I don't know. Finding Francis though was not. I didn't love it. Kind of got on my nerves a little bit.
Well, there's that whole sequence in that where he's like having him react or act out this like if he
Yeah.
met Francis, and it's literally just a scene from the rehearsal.
Right. Was inspired.
The part from that I like is when they go to the town in Arkansas and need to get into the yearbook records or whatever, and so they tell them they're filming Mud 2 because the first Mud with Matthew McConaughey was filmed there, and so
God.
they get a random background actor from the town who's going to star in Mud 2. What is it? He has like it's like Mud 2. What's it? Never Clean. That's Mud 2, Never Clean.
He just lies. He just makes shit up and gets away
And they're
with
like,
it.
yeah, you can come into the school and like look through the stage. Like, y'all are so
Well, and that's so messed. It's kind of messed up a little bit, like that he'll do that kind of thing sometimes, where he just like
well,
straight up, like comes up with some overly complicated bullshit to
well,
like
and you're
make
like,
somebody let him do something.
and they get mad at him, but I'm like, I don't know. You people should be smarter. Like, it just shows how like easily people can be exploited for different things. Like
And
that's
it's
that.
funny too, like they're like, no, you can't possibly go in our library for a second to look at some yearbooks, like at any time, even when all the children are gone. You couldn't possibly do that. Oh, but you want to film something?
You want to film
Sure.
Mud 2, Never Clean?
Ask. We will ask no more questions. That sounds like a completely legitimate claim. Come on in.
Yeah, it just cracks me up.
You think they would have to like talk to the superintendent or something, like to get
No,
approval?
I think everybody is just like so goddamn dumb, and they're just like, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Oh, had you seen Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, you're a Hot Topic girl. You had seen it.
Oh, absolutely. You know where I got this shirt, baby? Hot Topic. So I'm definitely
See,
that
we
kind of
needed
chick.
Andrew to come on because I think Andrew doesn't really like it.
Oh no, he doesn't. And I'm probably gonna be kind of mid on it too, to be honest. But I did kind of. I feel like it was formative. Um,
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I'll admit, even I think I talked about it on the Coraline episode. I don't even think this is like the best Henry Selick movie.
why do you watch it every Halloween then? What's the point?
Because it's a great Halloween movie. It's a
Yeah, I
great
guess.
Halloween movie. It's a great Halloween movie.
But it's not even top tier Henry Selick, according to you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need it to be.
What would you say is the best?
The one he's made is probably Coraline.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I find it very, very fun and enjoy. I don't even like watch it super intently now. That's why I'm saying like
Right.
I've watched it so many times. Like I thought about putting it up, but I was like, no, I can talk about it. I don't even need to watch it.
You did not rewatch it.
Mm.
Oh.
I know all the stuff in this movie.
No.
It's just nice. It's nice to have on. It's a ritual.
Yeah, sure. I understand. I feel like there was a time in my life where every year I would watch The Grinch, like around Christmas.
It's a good one, yeah.
It's a good seasonal flick. Ooh, it just got cold.
Great. It's like an hour and 15 minutes or whatever.
What is this one?
Yeah, never. It's like an hour 15, hour 20.
Yeah, it seemed really short.
It's very short. It's hour 16. It's pretty short.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't paying super close attention while I was watching it. I mean, I was sort of, but it's like, now what's happening? I don't know. It's good. It's fine. It's good. Are we ready?
Yeah, it's just a cat biting me.
What? Let me see.
He ran away. Okay. He ran off. It was love bites.
They do that.
All right. Here we go. Here we go.
There we go.
In 3, 2, 1. And we're back with part 2 of episode 427 of Cinematary. In this part, we're going to be continuing our Horror for Kids series with probably, I feel like, the most well-known, to a degree, horror for kid movie. At least I feel like one that people definitely view in this category. And that's 1993's.
Like, who has not seen this movie?
Well, we can talk about that. And it's 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Directed by Henry Selick from a script by Caroline Thompson. The film stars Danny Elfman, Chris Sarandon, Catherine O'Hara, William Hickey, and Paul Rubens. The film follows the misadventures of Jack Skellington, Halloween Town's beloved Pumpkin King, who has become bored with the same annual routine of frightening people in the real world. When Jack accidentally stumbles on Christmas Town, all bright colors and warm spirits, he gets a new lease on life. He plots to bring Christmas under his control by kidnapping Santa Claus and taking over the role. But Jack soon discovers even the best laid plans of mice and skeleton men can go seriously awry. As writer, Tim Burton's upbringing in Burbank, California, was associated with the feeling of solitude. The filmmaker was largely fascinated by holidays during his childhood. Quote, anytime there was Christmas on Halloween, it was great. It gave you some sort of texture all of a sudden that wasn't there before, Burton would later recall. After completing his short film Vincent in 1982, Burton, who was then employed at Walt Disney Feature Animation, wrote a 3-page poem titled The Nightmare Before Christmas, drawing inspiration from television specials of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas. Burton intended to adapt the poem into a TV special with the narration spoken by his favorite actor Vincent Price, but also considered other options such as a children's book. He created concept art and storyboards for the project in his collaboration with Rick Heinrichs, who also sculpted character models. Burton later showed his and Heinrichs' work in progress to Henry Selick, also a Disney animator at the time. After the success of Vincent in 1982, Disney started to consider developing The Nightmare Before Christmas as either a short film or 30-minute television special. However, the project's development eventually stalled as its tone seemed too weird to the company. As Disney was unable to, quote, offer his nocturnal loners enough scope, Burton was fired from the studio in 1984 and went on to direct the commercially successful films Beetlejuice and Batman for Warner Brothers. Over the years, Burton regularly thought about the project. In 1990, Burton found out that Disney still owned the film rights. He and Selick committed to produce a full-length feature film with the latter as director. Burton's own success with live-action films piqued the interest of Walt Disney Studios chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, who saw the film as an opportunity to continue the studio's streak of recent successes in feature animation. Disney was looking forward to Nightmare, quote, to show capabilities of technical and storytelling achievements that were present in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Walt Disney Pictures president David Hoberman believed the film would prove to be a creative achievement for Disney's image, elaborating, quote, we can think outside the envelope. We can do different and unusual things. That's changed. Nightmare marked Burton's third consecutive film with a Christmas setting. Burton could not direct because of his commitment to Batman Returns, and he did not want to be involved with, quote, the painstaking, slow process of stop motion. To adapt his poem into a screenplay, Burton approached Michael McDowell, who his collaborator on Beetlejuice. McDowell and Burton experienced creative differences, which convinced Burton to make the film as a musical with lyrics and compositions by a frequent collaborator, Danny Elfman. Elfman and Burton created a rough storyline and 2/3 of the film's songs. Elfman found writing Nightmare's 11 songs is, quote, one of the easiest jobs I've ever had. I had a lot in common with Jack Skellington. Caroline Thompson had yet to be hired to write the screenplay. With Thompson's screenplay, Selick stated, quote, there are very few lines of dialogue that are Caroline's. She became busy on other films, and we were constantly rewriting, reconfiguring, and developing the film visually. On the direction of the film, Selick reflected, quote, it's as though Burton laid the egg and I sat on it and hatched it. He wasn't involved in a hands-on way, but his hand is in it. It was my job to make it look like a Tim Burton film, which is not so different from my own films. When asked about Burton's involvement, Selick claimed, quote, I don't want to take away from Tim, but he was not in San Francisco when we made it. He came up 5 times over 2 years and spent no more than 8 or 10 days in total. The filmmakers constructed 227 puppets to represent the characters in the movie, with Jack Skellington having, quote, around 400 heads, allowing the expression of every possible emotion. Sally's mouth movements, quote, were animated through the replacement method. During the animation process, only Sally's face mask was removed in order to preserve the order of her long red hair. Sally had 10 different types of faces, each made with a series of 11 expressions. For example, eyes open and closed in various facial poses, and synchronized mouth movements. The stop-motion figurine of Jack was reused in James and the Giant Peach, also directed by Selick as Captain Jack. The Nightmare Before Christmas was originally going to be released under Walt Disney Pictures as part of the Walt Disney feature animation lineup, but Disney decided to release the film under the adult-themed label Touchstone Pictures because the studio thought the film would be, quote, too dark and scary for kids, Selick remembered. Quote, their biggest fear and why it was kind of a stepchild project was they were afraid of their core audience hating the film and not coming. To convey Burton's involvement and attract a wider audience, Disney marketed the film as Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Burton explained that, quote, it turned more into a brand thing. It turned into something else, which I'm not quite sure about. The New York Times in 1993 said Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas is fun for the whole Addams family as well as for anyone who's else inclined to appreciate the spectacle of Santa Claus being kidnapped and harassed. It is Mr. Burton's peculiar gift to find benign mischief in that kind of spectacle, just as Danny Elfman, who wrote the many serviceable songs that turn into a full-fledged movie musical, is capable of writing gleefully in a minor key. The Washington Post in 1993 said, although Nightmare is densely populated, it's Jack Skellington who must carry the film, and he's a wonderful creation, a spindly, formally attired skeleton who moves with the elegance of Fred Astaire and gets into as much trouble as Beetlejuice. With his baseball-like head and stitch of a mouth, Jack's more engaging than frightening, an often morose sophisticate who has a way with words. And in 1993, Roger Ebert said the movies can create entirely new worlds for us, but this is one of their rarest gifts. More often, directors go for realism for worlds we can recognize. One of the many pleasures of Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas is that there is not a single recognizable landscape within it. Everything looks strange and haunting. Even Santa Claus would be different to recognize without his red and white uniform. On that note, let's talk a little bit about The Nightmare Before Christmas. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the episode. I watch this every Halloween just because it kind of gives me the Halloween vibes I'm looking for. But Jess, I mean, how familiar? What's your familiarity with The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah, it was definitely a movie that I, kind of loved, idolized a lot. It was kind of practically like a character identifier, I feel like at the time, like, oh, I'm one of those people, like I like Nightmare Before Christmas, I like shopping at Hot Topic, that kind of thing. Like I felt like that there was a type of kid, who really liked this movie, and I was that type of kid.
Yeah, well, it's worth mentioning is it wasn't it's only gotten like more widely popular, I feel like lately. Like even
Right.
in the Hot Topic years, it was like a outlier movie, like
Right.
it was
For
kind of
sure.
like yeah, it was kind of like, we like this, but it's not, Beauty and the Beast, it's not Little Mermaid, it's not like it's
Right.
more of like the outsider Disney movie to like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know, and now I feel like it's, like, almost ubiquitous. Like, I went to
Yeah.
Home Depot today to get a light, cover, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, for, like, a light switch, and they mostly just had, like, random ghosts and, like, lights and stuff like that in the Halloween section, but they specifically and the only, like, branded thing that they had was, like, Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. Like,
Mhm.
there are obviously tons of horror movies, tons of, like, children's horror movies and iconography like that, but Nightmare Before Christmas, I feel like, is one that just will forever stand. I don't know, now it's like everybody's seen that movie.
Yeah, I feel like that wasn't even the case before. It's weird if you read interviews with like especially Henry Selick,
Mhm.
like he got acclaim and stuff for this movie, but it wasn't like a giant. I don't feel like it was a giant hit. Um
Mhm.
Again, it was one that kind of caught on over the years. I mean, honestly, the first time I came in contact with it wasn't even the actual movie. The first time I saw like pieces of the Nightmare Before Christmas was in Kingdom Hearts, like playing the video game.
Wow.
So I played and I was like, "What the hell is this? This is awesome!" And then later came to the movie. Um, but it's something that I feel like is it's so strange that you read about how Disney was so reticent about it, and then quite honestly, it's probably one of their most popular movies. Like
Yeah.
it's I think it's just as if not more popular than like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid,
But I feel like they're still so
Pinocchio.
hesitant to do stuff like this. You know what I mean?
No,
Most
they
of their
are. That's
stuff.
what's so
Yeah.
ironic. Yeah, is that like they're so like, oh, I can't. But you're like, but literally, this is the most, and that's what's so strange about Henry Selick. I mean, I think Henry Selick is a very like perfectionist worker, and that kind of hurts it in its stop motion. But he's
Mm.
only done two movies, two movies after this, Coraline and Wendell and Wild.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just kind of like he hasn't done a lot of movies. And I wonder. I also wonder if like that's because of he did. Excuse me, he did James and the Giant Peach. So James and the Giant
Right.
Peach, Coraline, and then Wendell and Wild. But but still, you're just kind of like. I mean, those are especially like. I mean, Coraline is another one that's like kind of like a off. It's starting to get way more popular, but is also kind of a outsider animation pick
Right.
that people like.
Yeah, I would agree with
It's
that.
it's currently our most listened to episode of Cinematary is the one we did on Coraline. So
Wow. I wonder if this will be one of those.
we better make it good then.
Yeah, we better. We're gonna step it up
um,
starting now, 48 minutes in.
yeah, no, I don't know. To me, I like it's kind of just we talked about it being kind of spooky and pleasant. Like this is a spooky and pleasant movie to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's very comforting to have on. I enjoy the musical numbers. Jack is such a I like the who was it, the Washington Post like relates him to Fred Astaire. He is kind of like Fred Astaire in like the way that they like move him around and things like that.
Yeah, he's
Um
like charming, he's like charismatic and charming, but he's also he's just like, kind of having his little existential moment of like there's got to be more to life than this and I don't know. I guess that speaks to anybody who's like, oh, is this all there is to life? I don't
yeah.
know.
No, and I think that's kind of what people relate to. It's on like a technical level, it is like it's still one of my favorite stop motion movies to watch just because like Ebert hits it on the nail on the head. Like all of the set pieces and things like that, they had like 20 sets that they used. Those are also like intricately unique. You
Mm.
think of from like just the Halloween Town architecture to the graveyard with the
Mhm.
with the hill, you know, that like moves to it's just I think that's what draws me to it is just it's everything is so is just so fascinating and unique. Like all the
Yeah.
characters, you have all the like weird side characters. You know, you have the doctor, you have Sally. I always laugh at the mayor when he's you know, he's up there. He's like, Jack, I'm only an elected official. I can't make choices on my own.
I know, it's so funny. He's so
Um,
dramatic.
That kind of like there's just such a wide variety of just like weird ass characters and weird ass that
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is such a fun movie.
There's something just so pleasant about it, right? Just, like, seeing them pull all these people and, like, like, all these little, like, horror tropes or something and, like, just bring them to life and do something just play within that space, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, I feel like the Addams Family kinda does that too, like, creates this space and creates this whole little universe of, like, macabre creatures and things and just makes them all kinda, like, I don't know, play with each other, and I
Yeah.
like that, like a little sandbox of, like, horror of
Well,
you know?
this one has the same issue that I have with the Adams Family, which is like I could watch like another 2 hours of this where it's just like whatever
Mhm.
the hell the people in the
Right.
town are doing. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like you have like the three witches and you have the like the vampire people
Yeah, I
and
like the vampire
you know,
people.
you just have like all you know, you have the guy with the axe in his head.
He looks so much like Uncle Fester too. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, probably not.
Yeah. No, it's just such a that's what I say. It's such a unique. You just have all this like this wide variety of characters,
Yeah.
and so I think that's what kind of that's I just kind of I think that's why I watch it every Halloween to answer the question. Is it's like you know it doesn't feel like Halloween until I like go visit Halloween Town for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Um, it is. And it's yeah, I don't know. So I mean I liked it a lot, growing up and then when I went to high school, I think by that point I was kind of like, yeah, moving on from that. But I was in choir and our choir teacher actually had us do like some music from it. So not that I already wasn't kind of pretty familiar with the music, but that was kind of like a little bit how I started talking to Andrew was we were like put near each other on stage and kind of like started talking a little bit then. And we went on a trip to New York with the choir and he had the movie on his iPod, which was just the screen was nothing, like But
I know
that's
exactly
like
what you're
how I,
describing.
yeah, exactly. Like why? What was the point? But I like asked him if I could watch it, and that was how we started talking. So
So
in a
really, the
way,
Nightmare Before Christmas, you know, started it all.
that's what started it all.
See,
Yeah, I don't.
um,
I don't really revisit it much, but it is. It is. I don't know. I think it's a perfectly likable, fun movie for the genre.
yeah, it's kind of annoying that Disney like reaps the benefits of it so much now though because they were so rejecting of it and kind of trepidatious about it.
Right.
You know, it's just kind of a bummer because I think yeah, I wish they would do more movies like this. I mean, they really don't even do many stop motion movies at all. And so yeah. Do you the songs that's a good kind of a good thing to hit on is just the song work. So you have Chris Sarandon does the voice of Jack when he's just like speaking and talking, but
Huh.
then Danny
Okay.
Elfman does all the singing parts. And so like now he like they have tours where you know you can go and the symphony will play the score in the movie will play and like they'll have Danny Elfman there and he'll like sing the parts and everything. And it's something that I've listened to him do interviews on, and he's very like fond of this like of the songs in this movie as well as playing the role of Jack still.
Hmm.
It's kind of it's something that he likes to like he likes doing those shows where they have like the live orchestra and things like that.
Do they
Um
just travel around or what?
no, I think around October they'll do like these they've done in the past like in like LA or something like a long like a live orchestra with the movie playing behind it, and he'll like sing the parts or
Mm.
stuff like that. But I really I think the song all the songs are pretty great. I really like
Mhm.
I can sing pretty much all the words of This Is Halloween, but that's, you know,
Wow.
that's the obvious one. But even like the first song that you get where Jack's singing alone, um, you get, you know, I also like the one with Lock, Stock, and Barrel when they're
Kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus.
I like Kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus.
Kidnap Mr. I was I think I had a little tiny solo of that one of those in our choir.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
remember which one it was.
I like that. I can do that one. I like yeah. I like
I like Sally's song.
Sally's stuff is good.
Yeah, I like
Lot
Sally's little song.
you get a nice range of Catherine O'Hara characters because she plays one of the children, one of the Lock, Stock, and Barrel. I forgot which
Huh.
one it is. She plays them, but she does her like creepy her creepy like voice, you know, like but then she plays Sally, and it's much more like her actual
Huh.
voice. The Lock, Stock, and Barrel role that she plays reminds me of the character that she plays in Where the Wild Things Are. She's like she plays one of those characters, is kind of like the pessimistic, semi
Huh.
creepy one. Okay,
KW? Is that one?
no, let me.
You know, it's been. I actually was thinking about Where the Wild Things Are the other day, and kind of want to rewatch it. It's been a long time since I've watched it.
I watched it. What was it for 400? It slaps.
Mm.
She plays what the hell is Judith.
Judith. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, the kind of skeptical.
Yeah.
But she like Catherine O'Hara is such a great actress because she just has like that. She like turns on this kind of like sinister voice. She does it in this movie. That's just kind of not even just like creepy. It's almost a little like it like kind of gets you in the back of your neck a little bit. It's a little uncomfortable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I think the music in this movie is really nice. It's kind of funny to kind of match this music up to again like the kind of I mean movies that are coming out around the same time for Disney, the Disney Renaissance movies, the Beauty and the Beast, the Little Mermaids, the all stuff like that, where you know like you have these like well regarded scores, you know, these kind of these, but I'm like, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas has just as many like well-known songs in it as any of those do.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, it is weird that we don't talk about this as like a Disney canon in the same way that we do Disney. I don't know, just like, you know, core Disney movies. But I feel like this alone kind of stands out a lot more than a lot of like many of those Disney classics combined. So I don't know, like in terms of if people seen it, people are familiar with, it, people like it.
Well,
Um,
I think there's like a reference to it. Like there was I forgot what year it was. It was but they had for one of the anniversaries or something like that. They did it might have been the 20-year anniversary, but you had all these bands that like did reimaginings of the different
mhm.
songs.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, you know, it's kind of a wide, let me pull it up. It's kind of a wide ranging. I mean, you have like yeah, you have like Devotchka and Marilyn Manson doing This Is Halloween
Mhm.
and All American Rejects, Corn, Plain White Tees.
When was this? I remember this, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
It was released in 2008 for the 15th
Wow.
anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
But like it's just like but you know it's not like the same type of band. You know, like you have Devotchka is very different from Vitamin String Quartet to Corn and Rodrigo y Gabriela. You know, like that's such a it's just a strange, wide ranging compilation of different artists.
Yeah.
But I think it's more like I bring that up to say that like it does have this like wide ranging appeal, and it's interesting to me. Um, every time I watch it, that it does have like this wide ranging appeal, even that it's kind
Mhm.
of grown in the 20 plus years that it's been out. People have kind of,
Yeah.
I like that it, even though at the time Disney was like, oh, this can be too weird for our core audience, like they've kind of, with time, it's become, one of their biggest hits.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that just kind of goes to show that there's always going to be like a market for this, but I don't know why we don't. Maybe it's for the best though that it's like stuff like this doesn't come out too often. Otherwise, it would probably be kind of annoying. But at this point, I almost feel like the movie has gone for full circle for me and like doesn't really have the same charm that it used to. Like, I had a hard time, like, keeping my attention on it, I think, a little bit just because well, also, I'm gonna say that I was listening to the music before I watched it today because I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay, like, I'm gonna get in that mood." And then so I listened to the music, and I feel like I halfway watched it while just listening to the music, and then when I went and actually sat down to watch the movie, I'm like, "Okay, well,
Well, it shows
like, I
you
gotta
how
be
good,
watching."
that's how good the music is like you can just
Right.
kind of
It
listen to the
kinda
music
carries
and
you
feel,
through, yeah. You feel
yeah.
like you're already there. But I will say, yeah, like as you were talking about earlier, the way that they create space in the movie, and just like pull you into this very cool, like giant, like sandbox of a place that you crave more time there. Like you just wish you could just explore and go up, all the little alleyways and just like have more time just spent in there, like watching them. Like I want to know now, like Sally and Jack. Now that they've like finally figured out that they both love each other, or even the creepy old doctor guy, how he makes his little doctor wife, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, you were kind of a jerk, but good for you. You needed somebody for sure.
Yeah, I think that's I think the big take, less like the subject matter and more like how intricate the world is
Mhm.
built.
Mhm.
It reminds you almost on like a level of like a Studio Ghibli movie, just because like
Yeah.
it creates like this world that you're like, oh, well, I could just like spend like 3 hours
Yeah.
just like living in Spirited Away's world, right? That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with the actual plot or some, or Howl's Moving Castle or something like that. This one's very much the same way, where it's a strong example of world building, because like Ebert said, like it just kind of creates a bunch of settings that you're not familiar with, that are just like new experiences to you, and I think that's what endears people.
Yeah. And I think for me, like growing up and even still now, horror, Halloween, that kind of thing, it's always been something that I love. I always get most excited around this time of year. Like it's my favorite time of year, going to haunted houses and watching scary movies and having bonfires and um, just and then even just kind of like the macabre stuff. Like I've always sort of liked that kind of energy, and you can't really find it. So having a movie that's just like fully in that space was refreshing. I don't know. Um,
One, it was like in the space
yeah.
of like, again, like going back to the whole horror thing. Like it's
Mhm.
not horror. It's not necessarily like supposed to be. You're not supposed to be like sleeping with the lights on afterwards.
Right, but it's just like bones and skeletons and graveyards and that kind of thing where you're like, ooh, like, I don't know.
To
The
me,
whole all of it. That's the whole world.
well, that's why I think I watch it. Also, is it like it? That's why it feels like the essence. To me, that's what I like about like Halloween and in like
Yeah.
this season. It's less. I don't want it to be like like blood and guts and like horrific. Like no, I just want like spooky shit. Like it's
Yeah.
like singing and dancing skeletons and weird you know kind of macabre worlds like this,
Yeah.
very expressionistic worlds that just kind of feel like they're pulling out of like your subconscious and your mind. That's the kind of stuff that like I like, that spooky stuff. That's the kind of essence of Halloween for me.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I also really liked one thing that kind of stood out. I liked the first. I think the boogeyman, the Oogie Boogie character, is
Mhm.
sort of weird. Like, why is this whole gimmick rolling dice and stuff? I don't know,
I
but
don't know.
I really like in his like first song. They go like black lights mode on it, and then everything turns glow in the dark. And
Mhm.
I just thought that looked really cool. I wonder if it was actually like black lights that they were using when they were doing that scene, or if it was just painted and looked cool. I don't know,
It's
but it looked
probably
really
it's probably painted, but it looks cool. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I don't really understand why he's what his whole thing is, but, like, at the same time, his whenever you go into, like, his house and his world thing, it's always it's super again, like, you have, like, the skeleton heads and the lights and, like, the neon and things like that. It's just
Hmm.
kinda it's such a
Souped up. I like it. Yeah.
cool space. Yeah. No, I think, you know, that's the main point, I think, of this series, but to me, like, I don't know, I respond more to, like, these types of, like, spooky movies than something that's just, like, some slasher graphic horror movie. I'm not against those,
Mhm.
but I'm just kinda like, this is the stuff that I like more is something like Nightmare Before Christmas that's more just like, "Let's have some spooky fun."
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that maybe that's why people like this series is it's kind of what kind of formative little movies that maybe just you associate even with the time of year, and they're
Yeah.
pleasant and just a little scary, just enough.
Just, you know.
This one's not really scary, but it's fun. It's good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's fun, you kinda feel and this one's kind of the perfect you can kinda work it for 2 holidays. You can watch it, like, around Halloween, or you can watch it around,
Hmm.
like, Thanksgiving, like, after Thanksgiving when you get closer to Christmas.
Right.
It works on both levels. Um, if you play Kingdom Hearts, the first game is much more, like, in the Halloween world, the second one's more in a
Ooh,
Christmas world.
gotcha.
Um, I remember the first time I watched the movie after playing, like, Kingdom Hearts multiple times and then finally watching the movie version. I remember I was, like, sick and I was kinda hazy and kinda being like, following the movie and being like, "This isn't like what the this one like the game is like."
Hmm.
It's weird being
I've never
disappointed.
played Kingdom Hearts. I always kind of wanted to, but I didn't have a PlayStation, and now I don't know if it's worth it.
I mean, it's still I can still play it, but that's because, you know, it's more of a nostalgia thing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have it, so I don't know if it would work for me. I think the time is come and gone.
It's a banger, it's a slapper.
I
It's
bet it
good
is.
stuff. It's got, you know, it's the only it's the probably the more stomachable, you know, digestible Disney I can take is Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm.
'Cause you got a nice mix of Disney and Final Fantasy.
So how did they get away with? You said at the very beginning when you were like giving the intro, you said that Disney started marketing it as Tim Burton's Night Before Christmas, to just because they thought it would help them get
Yeah, because at that point, so he was still a producer on it,
right.
but they thought that, you know, they might have a better shot of bringing people in because he had made Batman and Beetlejuice, so he was like
Sure.
a known commodity at this point. And so, like Henry Selick said, he didn't do that much. He didn't really do any work on it other than like kind of conceiving the story initially. Um,
I mean, it
but
seemed like
no,
it was his passion project. He just wasn't able to direct it, or kind of like once he got it in the right hands, he sort of like said, "Okay, cool, thanks for making this movie for me." I don't know.
yeah, it seemed like it was a mix of like he didn't have necessarily the patience to go to do the stop motion process, and I mean, and at that point in his career, like he was tasked to make Batman Returns, and like was
Mhm.
like at that point was a very hot commodity. So it was kind of
Mm.
like I don't think he had the time to like step away and like spend multiple, you know, many months working on a stop motion animated movie. So
Do you think that? I mean, wait, from what you read on it, did Henry Selick kind of have a problem with that? That them marketing, like basically erasing his name from it, even though it's his movie, he directed it.
he never. I didn't see anything where he's like talked about that. I'm sure he kind of got the same thing. He got it. Like they were just kind of like because it wasn't like Tim Burton was like trying to take credit for it. He was more just like, no, we just throw my name on it because it might entice people to check it out.
But I wonder, like, what would have been the impact of Coraline if this had been like Henry Selick's Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, Coraline already. I think people kind of knew, even if they didn't attach the right name. I think people like knew that Coraline was from kind of the same,
Yeah.
I don't know,
I don't know.
creative minds, but
They've taken. I mean, they call it just the Nightmare Before Christmas now. They've kind of taken the Tim Burtons off.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, it might have made it more of a hit. I just, even after A Nightmare Before Christmas, I don't think people knew Henry Selick
Mm-hmm.
by name from that. I mean, even though he did that and he did James the Giant Peach, I don't think it was like they knew he was getting name checked.
Right.
Because I mean, that's probably the case with a lot of animated movies. I mean, tell me, like, who directed, Beauty and the Beast or Mulan or something like, it's like those movies kind of live free from like the director kind of to a degree.
Right.
I think it's
But then I
only
don't feel like that's so much the case with like Tim Burton or Henry Selick. Like even if you do know who he is, you do know that he's made Coraline and he has like Wendell and Wild coming out. And then Tim Burton from this went and made some stop motion. Like is Corpse
made
Bride a
one.
stop motion?
Oh,
Okay.
he made two. Yeah, he made Corpse Bride. And he made Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie, yeah. And
So,
he kind of like kept that
but
imagery and that kind of feel and look.
well, yeah, that's what Henry Selick said. Like he tried to make it feel like a Tim Burton movie because at that point people had seen Beetlejuice, they'd seen Batman, and kind of had an idea of what But
Right.
no, I think with like Coraline though, Coraline still you can kind of see resemblances, but it very much feels different, in terms
Hmm.
of aesthetic.
Right, for sure.
Because
It's
I
much
think
more grounded, I
Yeah,
think,
Tim
in
Burton,
like reality.
And Tim Burton kind of has his lane,
Hmm.
which was a pretty entertaining lane for many years. Less so
Yeah,
now. Um,
agree.
Even though I guess
Agree.
he's like he hates Disney again. I saw he had some quote where he was just like he called it a horrible circus act or circus show or something. He was like ripping into it. So
He liked them when they got his movie on the radar. So
well, and he cut some paychecks for Dumbo and Alice in Wonderland and things like that. But you know, that's how it works.
that's how
That's
the world
that's just
works.
how things go. But no, I don't think I feel like Henry Selick does probably he has his whole own kind of career going. I think with him
Yeah.
he's just much more of like he's just very much like a perfectionist. And so it's not like he'll like churn out movie after movie after movie because he's
I don't. You
very like
can't if you're doing stop motion.
because I was reading, he was talking while he was doing interviews for Wendell and Wild, and he said something about like he was going to make this. I think it was called The Shadow King or something. He was going to make this movie with Disney, but Disney. Oh, actually, it was with Pixar, and John Lasseter and Pixar kind of got in the way of that. So he was just like, "Screw
Mm,
this! I'm not going to deal with this." Um, and right side of history for Henry Selick on that. John Lasseter is an asshole. So,
mm.
but but yeah, even Wendell and Wild, I think I remember seeing something that they had started working on this. Like I think Key and Peele, like the show was still going on when they started it.
What
But I
year is
think
that?
let me see it.
And that's next week, right? When you're live.
Yeah, but I mean it started in 2012 and it ended in 2015. So like around the 2015ish area, um,
It's a
I think they
really long
started
time.
working on it. But I
Yeah.
think at least started like thinking up an idea for it. But yeah, I think Henry Selick's just like a kind of a slow, like he just kind of is slow and very methodical. So, um, but I think again that pays off like we've been talking about. Like you don't get if you have to kind of have that perfectionism to create a world like the Nightmare Before Christmas that kind of feels like its own realm that you're going into.
Yeah.
If you're lazy, you just make a Marvel movie. So, any final thoughts on Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I mean, I think it's not one. Like I said, it's not one that I like go revisit a ton now. But it was really important to me growing up, and I think that's probably true for a lot of people. So
Hmm.
I'm glad we got to include it. I'm glad we got to throw it in there.
Yeah, it's one that, I feel like if we're gonna, if we don't do any more horror for kids movie series, like we had to at least get this one in there.
For sure. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll wrap up this episode of Cinematary. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/cinematary and on Twitter and Instagram at handle at cinematary. And on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/cinematary if you'd like to see the movies that we talked about in this episode. Head over to patreon.com/cinematary if you would like to support the show. Whether, $1, $5, whatever. Just kind of if you'd like to give something to the work we're doing, we appreciate it. But thanks to our patrons, Cam, Chad Newsom, Corey Willingham, Candace Sisson, Ron Hayes, Teresa Marthathi, Titus Arthur, and Tyler Chandler. Thank you so much for your patronage. Like we mentioned, next week, we thought it was coming out this week, but it's going to be coming out next week. Or it's coming out this Friday, so we have time to like watch it to do an episode on it. But Wendell and Wild, the new Henry Selick movie, is out, and that was one that Andrew and Reed and I caught at TIFF. But excited to revisit, and I hope people like definitely check it out. I think it's an interesting one and worth watching. It's on Netflix. So till then, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.
Stay cool.